Hello there, my name is Veena Prashant. I'm the co-founder of digitalaccesspass.com and I'm here today to talk to you about GDPR. The General Data Protection Regulation, also known as GDPR, it's the European Union's new data privacy law. When it takes effect on May 25, 2018, it will impact how companies, whether they are small or big, collect and handle personal data from their customers in Europe. We have started working on multiple updates in SPC as well as in DAP to help you comply with the GDPR policies. This is part 1 of our GDPR compliance release. This release includes updates to our shopping cart platform, smartpaycard.com, also known as SPC. Now, even if you don't use SPC, I still encourage you to watch this video so you can see what we are doing to help our customers prepare for GDPR. And you may want to make sure that whatever cart platform you use is also ready to deal with the GDPR protection laws. So here are the updates that we have made in the part 1 of our GDPR release for SPC. Number 1, just like the SPC EU VAT page where you're able to add and remove countries where VAT rules should be applied, you will now be able to do the same for GDPR. By default, EU countries are added to the GDPR list, but you can add and remove countries on this page. GDPR will be turned on by default, but if you want to turn it off, you can click on the checkbox to do so. And if you want to test if GDPR is working correctly on your site, here's a cool trick. All you have to do is add your country as a GDPR country, even if it is not. So this way, when you visit the checkout page, you're going to see the GDPR terms and it will all be processed as if you are from a GDPR country. And once you're done with the testing, then you can visit the GDPR page again and then remove the country from here. So for example, say you want to add USA, then the country name should be USA, the country code should be US, and click on add. Number 2, we have updated our checkout templates in SPC to include a GDPR terms section. To comply with the GDPR policies, you will need consent from the users that are from GDPR countries and are looking to purchase your product. You will need their consent. So what we have done is when you create your checkout page in SPC, you will now be able to enable GDPR terms and it will show up on your checkout page, and you can require that field so that users that are from GDPR countries, if they see that and if they don't accept it, then they will not be allowed to complete the purchase. And also, even if you include the GDPR terms here, it's not always going to show up on the checkout page. It's only going to show up for users that are from the GDPR countries. So it's not going to impact your conversions because it's not going to show up all the time. It's only going to show up for users that are from those specific countries. Also in the SPC settings page, under Customize Messages tab, if you go towards the bottom of that page, you will see there is an option that says GDPR not accepted message. You can customize the message here. This is a message that will be shown to the users that are from GDPR countries that see the GDPR terms and choose not to accept it. So when they click on place your order button, they're going to see this message because they will not be allowed to complete the purchase. And this is only going to happen if in the manage checkout page, you require the GDPR terms acceptance. So if you don't require it, GDPR terms will still show up on the checkout page, but if they don't accept it, they will still be allowed to complete the purchase. But if you want to enforce that, they must accept GDPR terms before they complete the purchase, then make sure to set it as required. And that's the default setting anyway. And just remember, the GDPR stuff is only going to show up for people that are from GDPR countries. It's not going to impact anything else. It's not going to show up on the checkout page if the user is not from a GDPR country. And everything that you see here is click and edit. If you want to change any of the text here, you can just click and edit and change the text. So now let's go ahead and run a couple of quick tests. So here, this is my checkout page. And you can see that the GDPR terms is showing up here. The reason it's showing up here is because I have configured USA as a GDPR country. The reason I did that is for testing purposes. So as you can see here, this is the SPC GDPR page, and I have added USA as a GDPR country, even though it's not, just for testing purposes. Also, you can see that on my checkout page, I have set GDPR acceptance as required. So now if I try to complete the purchase without accepting the terms, it's going to show this message, purchase cannot be completed. And this message is customizable in SPC settings page. Now, if I accept it and then proceed, it should let me complete the purchase. So now let's do another test. So before I had GDPR as required. So now I haven't checked it. So GDPR consent is not required to complete the purchase. So now if I go ahead and try to purchase without checking this box, so without accepting the GDPR terms, if I try to complete the purchase, it should let me complete the purchase. Now this is the first of our GDPR releases. We are going to have more of these. And also if you set GDPR acceptance as not required to complete the purchase. So as I showed you, you can configure your checkout page to say, even if they don't accept the GDPR consent, allow them to complete the purchase. But what we are going to do in the next series of updates is that in the user record in DAP for that user, we are going to mark them as GDPR user. So you will know that these are GDPR users. And we'll also allow you to configure a filter in the DAP automation engine to say, do not forward GDPR transactions to the external platforms. So you can say, do not send GDPR subscriber info to say ActiveCampaign or Drip or Aweber or ConvertKit. You can turn that off. So only the non-GDPR users will be added to your external platform. But if you want to add them to the external platform, but want them tagged differently, so you can take different action in your email marketing platform, you can do that too. So all of that is coming soon. This is just the first release in our series of GDPR updates. And as we learn more and things become more clear, we are going to continue to evolve and make this even better to help you deal with the GDPR policies and the GDPR law. I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, comments, you're welcome to leave them in the comment section below or leave a comment in my Facebook group, which is at dapcast.com/group. My name is Veena Prashant. Thanks for watching.